I tried to have a family. Being a mom gave me a whole new purpose in life. I thought this guy was cool. In fact, even intelligent at a time. But he was crazy. His beliefs were so extreme, mine were perceived as delusional. I tried to get us help, but it was too late. This is where it happened. This is where we stayed. It was all very confusing. And that's what made the case like a gravestone projecting my fate. But everyone has the right to freedom of thought, conscience, and religion. It's in the Constitution. But I played the game. My kids were locked up for no good reason. I wish I had one. And so, without a child, we couldn't stay at the family shelter any longer. We slept in the park that night. I would have died if I could have. Perfect recipe to ruin your life. But that's not what I chose. Our first visit was at an office building. What used to be known as DHHS, which my mom has nicknamed Destroying Human Hearts and Souls. Then we started visiting at a place called HCI, Home Counselors, Inc. We couldn't go outside for months, what seemed like very long. There's only so much you can do in a four-walled room. I had to bring the nature inside. When we could go outside, we could go out for 10 minutes. And this is where we sat. Couldn't go anywhere else. Holidays were always fun. Meanwhile, they were always watching. They would meet with me for fun because they never believed anything I said. These meetings were called family team meetings. And this is a picture of when they moved out to the jetport, so they were held here. To give them more reason to dismiss my ideas, they decided to get me tested with one of their professionals that they hired. And, they diagnosed me with delusional disorder. What do you know? This is the place where the testing was done. About maybe 3 or 4 hours that I sat with the guy. Showed me ink blots on paper. And I'm a creative person, so I saw Jerry Garcia with his guitar. But it was hard because it had me question my beliefs, the things that get me through every day. And one day after a visit, I went down to the back bay here to process my emotions, to cry. And I sat on the bank and I thought, you know what? I guess this is delusional because any normal person would sit on that damn bench. I started hating my uniqueness. I started hating who I was. But every few days, I would march down this long road in sweat, blistering hot sun, in beating rain, snow, cold, to visit these children. Children that I couldn't even call mine anymore. Eventually, outdoor visits were approved.
What? Sissy small bite? Oh, she's reaching for it. Truck.
We used to chase squirrels for fun. From there, after some time, I got visits in my home. They really knew how to ensure false hope. We used to pass by this building all the time while it was being built. My son found so much joy watching the trucks. And here's the result. This is Kennedy Park, which was at the end of my street. It was the only place we could walk to for about 10 minutes-ish and then get back to the house, because once visits were in home, we couldn't go anywhere else. We couldn't meet at, a park or a zoo or anything special. It was just confined there. Visits were always too quick. But they were scared of this guy, scared of the unknown, because he didn't participate in the process. He was too hurt. And so we had our last visit at HCI. That was it. No matter what my counselor said, that I met with weekly for over a year, that she didn't see signs of delusional disorder. It didn't hold up in court against Dr. Cooper with the higher degree. And when I went to look in, see if her name was still on the plaque here, it was gone. And even though I gave birth in a hospital and even got vaccines in my own arm while pregnant because it was required, going through or jumping through the hoops, as they say, wasn't enough in my case. And even though I attended every medical appointment I possibly could, which was pretty much every one for the children, there was no way to prove. They thought I wouldn't give them medical care based off of my beliefs to not vaccinate them to begin with. I just wanted to be a mom. I had everything they needed. Children are at risk all the time. It makes no sense to me. I learned my lesson in that you don't share your beliefs with the courts. That flag of freedom is a hoax. I'm a poetic person, and one time I told them, if there's a red light and no one's there, common sense says you don't need to stop. However, the laws are different. But I said, think about that backwards now, because if that light was green and there was a car in front of you, best believe you'd have to use common sense at that point, now wouldn't you? Lincoln had a good intention in leading our people, but I'm sure he didn't think about this one. I should be a proud parent, la-di-da, with everyone telling me wonderful compliments on how beautiful my children are. Instead, someone else is enjoying that title. An outsider. And the joys that I would appreciate and respect and my children have been taken away. But no matter where I go, there's always something to remind me of what I've lost. But I have to pretend like the memories don't exist. Tears flood the streets of Portland. I told this girl she's a part of my story because I know her kids were taken too. And here she is on the streets, like so many of these mothers. I was pretty turned when I saw this girl walking down the street with her newborn baby. I questioned how that was possible given what I had been through. She already had 3 of her children taken and even admitted to me on the street that she was the abusive one. And she said she had to give up her rights to her other children in order to keep this one. But you can't deny the happiness and love involved. Regardless of the restrictions they put on me and the restrictions they put on nature, you can't stop nature. And we'll see that even on another note with global warming.
They say the apple doesn't fall far from the tree, but even if it does, it's still an apple. And this ain't an apple tree.
But now, I try to take my freedom as a gift and save money by keeping my things in a storage unit and living where I can, which is pretty stable right now. But I'll never forget. My heart is like a dead rose. People hear, but no one knows.